That doesn't look like they're being invited. Do you see the differences before we get into it? Spoiler alert, the pro-Palestine demonstrations there yesterday at the Capitol versus January 6th. And I know a lot of people have tried to kind of compare, contrast the two, but we wanted to do so in a way that was more quantifiable, concrete for you, and we make the references available at loudestcrowder.com. So we do have some exclusive footage today as well that has never been seen before, which would remove all doubt as to it being a quote-unquote planned insurrection. How do I know? Because they say so. And you guys, yes, it's in their own words, and you can all take part by sending in your tips to our tip line, lwctips@protonmail.com. So first, let's just kind of give you a little bit of a recap. Yesterday, a group of these pro-Hamas nut jobs, and let's be clear, these people are pro-Hamas.
Pro-Hamas.
They took over the Capitol in D.C. That doesn't look like they're being invited.
Seems quite unreal.
And by the way, they have signs up there. We've talked about this. They have signs saying ceasefire now. See, let me be really clear. When people talk about racist dog whistles, right? If you say socialist, what you really meant to say was the N-word with Obama. That's what they'll tell you, right? If you say, oh, trans male, what you're actually doing is you're calling for, it's coded language, it's a dog whistle for genocide against trans people. This is not a dog whistle. This is a giant blaring siren. Anyone who calls for a ceasefire after people have been raped and murdered, sounds nice, you are supporting terrorism.
Soon be over, priest. Finish it.
Hey, ceasefire, ceasefire. Everyone calm down. Hey, ceasefire, calm down, guys.
We have them on the payroll. Yeah. So this whole thing was, this protest was organized by Jewish Voices for Peace.
Oh.
Or it's one singular, Jewish Voice for Peace, I guess is the organization.
Singular, just one of them.
The ADL, pretty leftist organization, defines them as an anti-Zionist leftist group. And it took place, here's the thing, there are a lot of parallels between what we saw January 6th, except, these people actually had more horrible intentions off the bat. They were, you would say, instigated by somebody, right? They tried to say that Donald Trump instigated what happened January 6th. We'll get to that clip because that clip is always important to run to make your voices heard peacefully and patriotically. Let's compare that to how this started. It was spurred on by Rashida Tlaib, or at least they went into the Capitol, stormed the Capitol, shortly after she addressed the crowd right there outside the Capitol. So a lot of people don't realize that. Some people online thought that Rashida Tlaib was speaking to some small rally in Dearborn. No, this is the context. So now when you see her words, I think those words matter. And again, comment below if you think that this insurrection is worse than Pearl Harbor and 9/11 combined. That's what I think. It's 9/11 too. So let's go to then and now. Do we have the clip from Rashida Tlaib actually?
We have it down a little bit further because it kind of specifically juxtaposed.
Okay, let's do that. So let's go back to then before we go to Rashida Tlaib, because when you take it in context, her comments are a little bit, I would say, shocking in comparison. You were told that Donald Trump incited violence January 6th. Okay, here is Donald Trump back then telling protesters to make their voices peacefully heard. He used those words.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
They never show you that.
They don't.
They never show you that.
Peacefully and patriotically. Weird.
And right after that, immediately, ABC News said, this is what Trump told supporters before many stormed the Capitol. The president incited those who attended his rally to march to the Capitol. And that's the most mild one we could find.
He didn't even say, by the way,
because then they said they called them to storm it violently.
I know, but he actually is just, he's like, I hear this is what you're doing.
Yes.
He didn't say go do it anyway. They're stupid.
But that's always what he does.
I know.
In other words, I wouldn't put
Other people
he didn't do it, but I wouldn't put it past him saying, and people tell me that you have a shaman who's going to go in the house, going to take a selfie at Nancy Pelosi's desk. I'm going to take a fantastic dump at Nancy Pelosi's desk. I would never do that. That's what they tell me.
Go shaman.
So they say. They say it. No one says that. People say it. I heard it once.
People say it.
In a subway car.
What people?
So that brings us to now. Tlaib The only representative with a ticking pantsuit making veiled threats the Capitol to Biden.
I want him to know, as a Palestinian American, is also somebody of Muslim faith, I'm not going to forget this. And I think a lot of people are not going to forget this. And it's not a threat. It isn't. They think we're joking.
Now, see, by itself, it's not a threat. Like, it's basically saying it's a promise.
Yes.
It's not a threat. They think we're joking. Well, hold on a second. Is it?
Right.
Is it? Are you? So you're not joking.
So
that makes it a threat.
So it's not a joke. It's not a threat. Oh, that's a claim. That's a promise.
There you go.
I think it's her outfit that made us think she was joking.
Yeah, it was 2 sizes too.
Yeah, that's true.
So Tlaib, by the way, this is being covered by ABC News, so we wanted to have a direct apples-to-apples comparison. ABC News covered it as Tlaib refuses to apologize for blaming Israel for Gaza hospital blast. Attacks Biden. The backlash to Tlaib's remarks shows divides within the Democratic Party. Oh, that's it.
That's the most important thing there.
Yeah. No link to the protesters regarding her rhetoric, which,
How about adding the word falsely?
Yes.
Rashida Tlaib won't back off her comments, falsely attributing the Gaza hospital explosion to Israel.
You could just read Rashida Tlaib won't admit the truth.
There you go. That's
a shorter headline.
And it's not even a divide in the Democrat Party. Just with Biden making his false statement, it appears a divide.
Right.
But behind closed doors,
you're right
with it.
When people say, "Oh, the left fringe," that's the entire. Who is in the DNC today who you would not consider
that's what I'm saying,
left fringe? Right? They say, "Oh, the right goes left," and we've done a whole segment on this. The left has been moderate, and the right has gone too far right. Hold on a second. So when you have the president saying, "I think it's evil for you to not affirm your 6-year-old's gender,"
right?
How is that not fringe? Believing that's as fringe as you get, and this is in the Oval Office, by the way. Also, the vice president, also the Speaker of the House when Nancy Pelosi was in that role. Mm-hmm. Every single person, if plane after plane were to go down and we were to go through the line of succession, every single person in that line of succession would be someone who supports children transitioning, as well as, a marginal tax rate, while we're talking economics, of likely 80%. The point is, there is no non-fringe DNC. You might have people who vote Democrat and they're not fringe. There is no one in the head of the party. This is what they actually believe. Now let's bring this to, speaking of the people, let's go to how the protesters actually conducted themselves and compare it, because I think that's important. So let's go back to then, January 6th. Now, you weren't shown this on media, and when we actually ran these clips, we were suspended from YouTube. That's why we do this on Rumble. We showed it the next day we were on air. The next day that the majority of these protesters, not only did they respect the People's House, they were invited in. Look at that. It makes me so mad when I go back and watch that. So they were invited in by the Capitol Police. Not everyone, but a good portion of them. And then you had representatives fleeing, going, "Where's the camera?" Ah! And then the people walk in and follow the ropes. Just, if you ever wondered how dishonest your government, how dishonest the media is, right there, QAnon shaman. That man did serious time in jail.
Years.
Think about that. He's on camera, being invited in and being entirely peaceful, and also he's also saying, let's keep it peaceful. So let's compare that to now, as opposed to being invited in. It was a stage sit-in, which is always silly. I mean, it's a good protest for lazy people.
Yeah, don't have to actually do anything.
After they blocked traffic around the Capitol complex, and they forced their way in. That's now.
Is he trying to commit suicide?
Yeah.
I said let him go, officer.
Yeah.
Let nature take its course.
And by the way, as it always is, they left tons of pro-Palestinian graffiti there. Remember when the Tea Party, when they would have these tea parties, and people would say, "Oh, it must be racist organizations," where they would actually be walking around with pokey sticks, cleaning up trash, and the media said, "They're trying to stab black guys with pokey sticks." Meanwhile, in Zuccotti Park, Occupy Wall Street, you may forget that people, they made it a common practice to take a steaming shit on cop cars
Which is impractical.
And throw dirty needles into people's tents as they slept. This is the way the left operates. It's always graffiti. It's always violent. It's always disruptive.
Yeah.
And then they blame the right of doing exactly what it is that they do. Now, let's contrast the treatment that we saw of January 6th, the people who were protesting, or the people who were arrested, I guess, at this point, versus what we just saw yesterday. Let's go back to then. Over 1,100 protesters were hit with federal charges. Federal charges. The Proud Boys guy, Enrique Tarrio, who, as far as we know, they didn't even accuse him of violence, 22 years in prison. At least 6 people were sentenced to at least 12 years in prison.
Wow.
You have people who've distributed child pornography, which we'll get to with Pornhub in a second, who do less time.
Yeah.
And that brings us to now, by the way, which is a Mug Club exclusive. We have some more footage that was on the ground. Are we hitting the stinger here? Yep. All right, Mug Club Undercover. So there were some people, Nick, just to be fair, who were taken to jail. So that's fun.
Back to you, Bob.
On a charter, they were taken there on a new charter bus, and the thing is, they were let out. 23 years, 12 years. It's a little more severe than being let out with a $50 bail.
What?
And treated with kid gloves. Here, this is exclusive. Here they are talking about it.
Wow. That's a nicer bus than I took to New York the other week.
Probably has USB charging ports in there.
You want any food, anything to drink? Great. Okay, so we have like fruits, Gatorades, chips, candies. Was it cold in there?
It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like cold, but.
I said no, and you said how many
Were you really? Well, you were on the side with more people.
It's at least like 50.
Yeah.
Are you at a store?
There's like a
or they
fan
already purchased?
and like one
50 means bail.
Like your
$50.
Yeah. I think we were having people text ceasefire.
Hey, it's the next Victoria's Secret superstar.
They were giving them fruit and drinks and treating them really nicely, and they got a $50 bail. You mean they weren't kind of kept in a holding cell that was dark and damp?
I think you meant sell.
Loud.
You said sail. You said sail.
I have a nautical theme in my head.
You do. For reasons that we won't get into today.
No, didn't monitor me.
Before we get to the idea of it being an insurrection, at the very least, almost all of these protesters, it seems, knew that they were doing something illegal and that they would get arrested. They were planning, again, this is exclusive, on getting arrested.
But it was very right. It was straightforward. It was as advertised. No. Okay. When they very organized and it's a different vibe. Yeah. Yeah.
So where do you live now?
Yes, and I saw that. Okay.
I know. I'm not even a white privileged guy, but that's what it looks like.
A jail support form.
Were you planning on getting arrested? Yeah.
Of course. I filled out the form.
I'm a white girl, though.
They'll let me go.
I don't know. She could be 1/16th Cherokee. I don't care. Now, was it an insurrection? That term has been thrown around so flippantly that it's lost all meaning. So now I'll use it. Because the protesters themselves, at the very least, allude to it being an insurrection, if not just saying it.
Welcome to you. Yeah, they said right, another insurrection, and this time. Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, hold on a second. I don't want to misquote, and again, this is exclusive, so you will say that we've taken this out of context. You can go and watch these clips, longer versions. You can follow me on X, Twitter. Go watch them there. I know we'll have them on Mug Club, I believe, as well, but X is the best place for raw footage. Was it an insurrection? Filthy hippie there at the Capitol. Please answer one more time.
Welcome to you. Yeah, they said right, another insurrection, and this time. No one got oh my God. Yeah.
They know it's consequence-free, but this time no one had any consequences.
Watch Ladder with Crowder live Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern.